A huge welcome to how to facilitate the IRP successfully without sacrificing time and well-being in the process. This webinar is for teachers who want to successfully facilitate that IRP without sacrificing their time and well-being in the process. You're in the right place if you're ready to shake up the process. You're ready to transform the focus. You're ready to embed the content, and you're ready to improve the actual product at the end. My promises to you is that you're going to be able to follow a step-by-step approach to work smarter, to link the focus really explicitly to CAFS content, to embed content strategically for success, and to cut down that marking to improve the well-being of both you and your students. And if you watch to the end, I have a special bonus for you guys. You're going to access my Year 12 research methodology revision cards where your students can laminate them, they can use them for revision, they can use them in the lead up to trials and the HSC. CAFS teachers have 4 main challenges when it comes to the IRP. The first one is about having multiple IRP focuses, a lack of connection to CAFS. Number 3, really about teaching the content separately. And number 4, getting the kids to submit every single part. Type yes and have a big shout out yes if you're ready to successfully facilitate the IRP, because today we're going to unpack what it looks like to do this successfully. Imagine this. Your HSC results indicate that research methodology is well below the state average. Your head teacher tells you that if you don't improve these results, you'll be taken off CAFS next year. How would you approach this? Would you take the painful Polly and the painful Patrick approach? These guys redo their whole research methodology resources by creating Google Slides, everything, but their students don't really connect with it. They lose interest really, really quickly. They start creating designated catch-up sessions with their students where they work with them one-on-one to really kind of help them, but the kids forget about their weekly time schedule. They also give weekly exam revision questions out for homework, but only their really keen kids actually hand them in. They also offer lunchtime and school holiday sessions to focus on the IRP, but only their high flyers attend. Or would you rather take option B, the strategic Sophia and Steve approach? Sophia and Steve focus less on catching up with every single student on their individual IRP and focus more on facilitating the IRP strategically so all students feel success. They link the focus explicitly to the CAFS content so their students can really connect with the content all the way through, instead of random PE type topics. They start to embed research methodology as they're teaching it, as they're actually going through the process, in order for students to really start to apply their content instead of just flying through the content at the start of the course. They also request their kids to submit only parts of the IRP so they can really hone in on their skills and start spending some valuable time preparing them for the HSC by working on their writing. So, would you rather take option A, where these guys work their butts off to improve their teaching resources, they guide each of their students through each individual part of the IRP, only to be disappointed by the lack of motivation and results at the end? Or would you rather follow a step-by-step strategic approach that facilitates the IRP, where students share resources, share results together, they share their data, linking to concepts, embedding that content all the way through, and they experience success as they don't have to submit a whole IRP that might look something like this? So, my story, I've been through that process. Back then, I was a newbie and I literally had no idea what I was doing. I would make my kids submit things like this, IRPs exactly like this, that had every single part. That was back then. Today, I have moved past that. I have seen a better way using a strategic approach to facilitate the IRP. Now, I help CAFS teachers exactly like you to successfully, strategically facilitate that IRP without sacrificing time and well-being in the process. In other words, I help painful Patricks and Pollys to become more strategic like Steve and Sophia. These days, I've been able to support over 500 teachers across New South Wales in my courses and my coaching and mentoring sessions. I've supported thousands of CAFS teachers in my online networks, and I've developed go-to spaces for CAFS teachers to connect, grow, and learn together. And I've supported hundreds of your students, hundreds of CAFS students to improve their results inside my Year 12 masterclasses. And I've also been so lucky to have the opportunity to write to co-author 2 textbooks for CAFS. But things weren't always this way. I had a few problems. I was a newbie. It was just me, the syllabus, and a textbook. I was flying way too quickly through content. I would start it in term 4. I would get it over and done within a couple of weeks, and I wouldn't actually go back to it. I was failing at guiding my kids through their hypothesis and their questioning. And I was running around every single lesson trying to help each one of my students. I would spend countless hours in the library with my students, but they're kind of getting nowhere and they'd go around in circles. I would spend seriously the best part of term 4 comforting my students because they were having consistent meltdowns. And I'd run out of time. I'd run out of time preparing my students for those 25 marks that are still in the HSC of research methodology. And instead of spending my holidays on the beach, reading books, catching up with family and friends, I would have a dreaded marking pile that would look like this, that would stare at me in the face. And the worst part, my students didn't even read the feedback at the end. I started to wonder, how do I actually do the IRP and also nail research methodology without sacrificing my time and my well-being in a way that enables my whole class to work together as researchers to ensure success, ensures my students are working strategically with CAFS content in the IRP, consistently enables my students to apply their understanding of the actual CAFS content, but also meets the outcomes more specifically and supports the well-being of my students. I realised I needed to facilitate the IRP. The strategies I was using were too focused on the actual process and the product, and not focused enough on applying the skills and improving their results consistently year after year. Since then, I've supported CAFS teachers like you and their students to successfully go through the IRP in a strategic approach to improve their application as well as HSC results. My students' results every year have been consistently above the state average, and my students have received a large number of band 4, 5s and 6s and a low number of 1, 2 and 3s. I had unlocked the secrets to successfully facilitating the IRP, and even better, I discovered the process was replicable. Here's what I discovered. I needed to facilitate the process. I need to link the actual focus to CAFS content. I also needed to embed research methodology all the way through. And I needed to get my kids to submit only the parts that were essential. Today, I'm sharing my exact step-by-step framework for successfully facilitating the IRP. To go from facilitating the IRP to improved results and processes all the way through. And this is the same framework that I've been able to share and learn and become an expert in over the last few years to help CAFS teachers exactly like you guys to go from having mountains of marking to having 15, 20 IRPs happening to be able to support you in your journey. I've been recognised by the PTC Teachers Council for my service to CAFS teachers and PE teachers across New South Wales. I've also been able to unpack my expertise in writing and co-authoring 2 textbooks. And now I have the unique opportunity to help you in your CAFS journey. And I've also supported 150 CAFS teachers to follow this same process. This framework is the best way to successfully facilitate the IRP to avoid the 4 big mistakes CAFS teachers are making right now when they run the IRP. So I'm going to share these with you today. And the first one is really about individual IRP. So that's mistake number 1, individual IRPs. The solution is 1 facilitated IRP across your class. Common mistake number 2 is loose links to CAFS. The solution, explicit links to CAFS content in your focus. Common mistake number 3 is just touching on research methodology. And the solution is really about embedding that research methodology. Common mistake number 4 is the kids submitting all the parts. I'm talking about these bad boys. These are past IRPs. In a past life, this is what my kids had to actually produce. It's not like that anymore. Hundreds of pages goes into that. And it's not like that anymore. The solution is marking only the key parts that link to those 2 outcomes, outcome 4.1 and outcome 4.2. So are you ready to dive a bit deeper? Let's unpack these common mistakes in a bit more detail. Okay, so common mistake number 1 is really about those individual IRPs. So I'm talking, when I worked in an all-girls Catholic school, we had about 4 classes, on average about 16 to 25 kids every year. And I had to facilitate that process with my students. I would honestly spend, I reckon, 3 weeks of time wasting. The kids going around in circles. Oh, what topic should I do, miss? Should I relate it to, teenage pregnancy or abortion? They would go round and round in circles with their focus. They weren't hitting the nail on the head. They weren't getting to the point. And we were spending way too much time wasting them going around in circles. There was a lack of focus, a real lack of focus with this. And for the kids, they found it so overwhelming because this IRP, this big mammoth IRP, has come from a traditional approach and it wasn't strategic. This approach wasn't strategic with my kids. The solution is having a clearer process where we facilitate the IRP. You're the head researcher, you're facilitating that IRP with your CAFS crew. You're start to embedding the concepts. You're going to apply the knowledge and the skills all the way through, rather than the kids going out on their own and we kind of do little check-ins, we check their diary or we kind of check their process or their how they're going with it. But this is, we're being intentional. We're actually facilitating the process in research teams. And we might be using Google Apps or any other platform to help the kids along the way. So this is a testimonial from Patria. Patria took strategic approaches to the IRP, and she literally has said that this course was a complete game changer. And you've heard me say this before, because strategic approaches to the IRP is a game changer for you. It's going to change the way you do the IRP with your CAFS crew. It's going to give you a step-by-step process to follow and to seriously replicate every year with your CAFS crew. And the course gives you bite-sized, little bite-sized snapshots, little videos, the booklet that will go with it, the resources, and it's going to make the whole process so much more manageable for you, but more importantly, or the same for your kids as well. Okay, I want you guys to choose an emoji that would best represent what this would feel like when you start to do this IRP focus, that one-on-one. So that one-on-one focus rather than individual IRPs all the way through. So choose an emoji that best represents what this would feel like for you to transition to this particular approach. Okay, common mistake number 2, loose links to CAFS. general topics that are often disjointed, and they're kind of connected to the course, but not really. So I'm talking things like abortion, teenage pregnancy, drink driving, eating disorders, things in the media that don't really kind of relate, sporting examples, sports participation across Australia. These very loose CAFS kind of type things are very much more PE based. And I can tell you when the kids choose these, they might say, and the impact on wellbeing. That's not CAFS. Sport participation in Australia isn't CAFS. We need to start to get with the program, and we need to move away from this approach that is this general kind of topic. It's not an IRP, it's not a PIP, it's an IRP. So we really need to work strategically that have greater connections to our course. And the reason for this is so we can start to embed key concepts from our other units of work in this process. So I'm not going to share too much here about what that looks like, but linking it to other parts of the course. The solution are clear, explicit links to our topics, more strategic links, more specific topics that we're going to definitely relate to in our CAFS course. It saves time. It also introduces those concepts really early on, so the kids start to embed those key concepts as they go through the IRP. And it also means that everyone is seriously on the same page. Rather than having 15 to 20 IRPs, kids going around in circles, you have one straight focus, one clear focus with your CAFS crew. Everyone is literally on the same page.
Being new to teaching CAFS, I found the strategic approach to the IRP course excellent and very, very helpful. I really enjoyed working through each of the modules at my own pace and taking in the information, because there's a lot of information to take in. But the main part of the course that I really liked was how to embed the teaching strategies through the IRP, how to make it a successful teacher-facilitated project, and how to make the IRP more manageable, not only to teach, but to mark, have the students understand it to such a deep level that they need to, and also how to successfully apply it in the classroom so it makes sense to myself and the students.
So huge thank you to Donna. Donna is a very experienced hospitality teacher. She's done HSC marking for Hospo, and she's fairly new to CAFS. She took strategic approaches to the IRP last year, and she found it really excellent. She loved the idea that it was self-paced, that embedding of those teaching strategies, that clear connection along the way, rather than leaving it to the last minute just before trials, embedding that link to research methodology along the way. And it also means that she's not marking 20 IRPs. It's a focus. Yes, there are components that she's marking, but it's so much more manageable for her as well as the kids as well. Okay, I want you guys to have a think about this. Choose an emoji or choose an expression that would best represent what this would feel like when you start to embed the content and make the IRP more manageable, like Donna did. So choose that emoji, because I'd really love to hear from you guys about how you're feeling about this. Okay, let's move to the next area. Okay, common mistake number 3 is just touching on research methodology. Doing it in term 4 for a couple of weeks, fly through the content, but not really embedding it strategically, not being so explicit that the kids really understand the end game. And you know, I've said it before, the end game is the HSC. So 25 marks are up for grabs in that HSC, and often there's a disjoint between our kids' content. They forget it half the time because we haven't embedded those key skills, that key knowledge, all the way through the process itself. There's a complete disconnect between it. We've said, here's the content, stop, product. And then we forget about that. That is so important. 25 marks are up for grab. And I can probably guarantee you, if you looked at your RAP data, you would see some inconsistencies with your marks. And one of our CAFS teachers, Anne, very highly experienced CAFS teacher, Anne spoke about this. Anne spoke about this disconnection. She looked at her RAP data and she saw her kids really struggled in research methodology. And Anne is super experienced. She's taught our course when it was life management. So back in the 90s and the early 2000s, when our course did become CAFS in 2001, Anne is super experienced. She has multiple CAFS classes every year at a senior high school. So she knows that this is going to be a game changer. And Anne has spoken about this. Her RAP data indicated that the kids really struggled. It was probably her area of weakness as a whole cohort, and she wanted to do something about it. So she took up strategic approaches to the IRP and found it phenomenal about helping the kids, bringing those kids up, those bottom kids up, and helping them along the way. So when we're not being explicit, we're not getting the kids to apply their understanding, to apply the actual skills that they need in the end game.
As a head teacher and an experienced CAFS teacher, I found Kelly's course to be extremely helpful in considering alternatives to reduce the workload and stress on both students and teachers throughout the IRP process. Over the years, I've made small modifications to try to make the IRP task more manageable, and this course really enabled me to push this further and think outside the box, moving further away from that traditional approach to the IRP. Instead, I started to reconsider what we're actually trying to assess and what really needs to be included in the task. Strategic approaches to the IRP really motivated me to refocus my attention on the outcomes and how to develop stronger links to the HSC examination, instead of getting all caught up in the process of the IRP. We already had been moving towards teacher-facilitated approaches and had components of class collaboration throughout our IRP task, but Kelly was able to provide various tools to support this even further, and she also provided one-on-one support for questions that were really specific to the context of my school and my teaching experience, which really made this course very valuable for me. I was able to use this course as a platform to explore various options to see what might work best for us. Implementing what I thought were only minor adjustments to how I taught and assessed this module made such a big difference in student understanding and results, particularly with my lower order students. Kelly understands the complexities of being a senior teacher and has made the course really teacher-friendly, considering teachers' time and context. I'd highly recommend teachers of all levels of experience getting involved in the course. You will definitely take away a game changer that will help reduce your stress when it comes to the IRP.
So huge thank you to Jamie. So Jamie mentioned a game changer again, and for the course would be really helpful for her CAFS kids, decreasing the workload on both her and her CAFS students. And Jamie's a head teacher. She guides her whole CAFS crew, her CAFS teachers, to help the kids through this process. And she really found it valuable because it linked more specifically to the outcomes. As I mentioned before, outcome 4.1 and outcome 4.2 are the two outcomes within the syllabus. 2 outcomes only. All of our other parts of the syllabus have literally 7 to 8 outcomes. So why are we still making this IRP product so ridiculously big? And I'm going to show you again like this. Why are we still doing it like this? I think we just have this perception in our head that it has to be that way. What Jamie has been able to uncover by doing strategic approaches to the IRP and facilitating the process is that she can have more direct links to the outcomes of the course, but also the HSC exam, the end game. Okay, so common mistake number 4, and Jamie alluded to this, is really submitting all the parts, every single part. And we're talking about the abstract, the introduction, the literature review, the methodologies, the results, the discussion, the conclusion, the recommendations, the bibliography, the appendix. Why are we still making our kids submit every single one of these documents? It doesn't have to be this way, and we don't have to mark it like that. Life management, our course, our predecessor before CAFS, it literally had each of those parts. That was the traditional part of the course. We're in CAFS now. We need to kind of move from that and go, okay, this is a much better way. We don't have to get the kids to submit all the parts because it's not respecting their time. It's not respecting our time. We're not being flexible, and it's also not supporting those outcomes, those 2 outcomes. 4.1, justifying applying research methodologies. 4.2, I think it's something about debating issues, presenting information. Doing everything like that is not supporting that. And the IRP is not a PIP. It's not assessed externally. It's an IRP, and it doesn't have to be like that anymore. We're not supporting our well-being if we're still doing it the way that we used to. Okay, so let me know, what is an emoji that would best represent this light bulb moment? How would it feel? How would it look? What would you be saying of that improvement to see you possibly supporting you, your well-being, and the well-being of your kids? I want you to visualize that. What would it look like in your school holidays? What would it look like day to day in term 4? Instead of running around like an idiot, what would it look like if you had one clear focus together? Okay, so let me guess, you're probably thinking, mind blown, how on earth do I find the time to actually do all of this? You've learned that strategically facilitating an IRP is the best way to avoid the biggest mistakes CAFS teachers are making when doing the IRP. You've learnt that going from an individual IRP, being like Polly and Patrick, to moving to a teacher-facilitated IRP like Sophia and Steve, within this step-by-step framework, is the best step that you can make in your CAFS journey. So the what and the how. How do you improve the process? How do you make the IRP link more specifically to CAFS? How do you embed the content more explicitly? How do you actually reduce the submission and marking to protect the well-being of you and your CAFS crew? And how do you work more strategically to maximize results? Then, how do you actually find the time to do all of this? So I've mentioned before, but I'm going to introduce you to strategic approaches to the IRP, which helps you successfully facilitate the IRP. And if you're already keen to join, which I know many of you guys are, head over to the learnnet.com/IRP and you'll have instant access to the course within the CAFS education portal, which is my website. Strategic approaches to the IRP literally gives you every single thing that you need to help successfully facilitate the process that you're going to take with your CAFS crew, moving them from having that big mammoth task to strategically linking it to the CAFS course. Also, that process all the way through is so much more streamlined and strategic. So you'll receive documents, templates, resources inside your CAFS portal at thelearnnet.com/IRP when you unlock this approach. So strategic approaches to the IRP, the course itself helps community and family studies teachers exactly like you to develop a strategic approach to facilitate the IRP successfully to maximize results without sacrificing time and well-being in the process. It's the only course. It's literally the only course out there that shows you the step-by-step framework to successfully facilitating the IRP for maximum success with your CAFS crew. So what does the actual course entail? Great question. So strategic approaches to the IRP includes a framework, that step-by-step 4-part framework that helps to get your kids to work on the process, to look at more of the purpose behind what they're actually focusing on, to help them be better prepared for that HSC exam, that 25 marks in both the trial and the HSC, as well as that end product at the end. And it literally gives you the framework, the resources to help you successfully facilitate the IRP without sacrificing your time and well-being. So within strategic approaches to the IRP, you have access to 8 modules, video tutorials, bite-sized pieces that you guys can plug away at recess, at lunch, in your free, small little gems of learning. Hundreds of resources inside this, templates, weekly Q&A sessions with me inside a private Facebook group if you take up our early bird offer. The course community is so rich, being able to support you guys along your CAFS journey, and you also access 2 bonuses. Module 1 is really about being more strategic to set out the actual process itself. So uncover the importance of really establishing those links across the class, those connections, explore those syllabus requirements, so what the requirements are. Remember, a maximum of 20% is allocated to this in your assessment schedule of school-based assessment, maximum of 20%. If we're still marking IRPs that look like this, 20%, does it equate to this? Does it reflect the time and energy required? I don't think so. Module 2 is all about having those strategic links to IRP topics, where you can really unpack what it takes to have that connection to the course. I'm talking about connecting it to maybe groups and context and equity issues, maybe connecting it to parenting and caring, multiple role commitments, maybe looking at your option, your case study, looking at a really key part of your option that is going to get the kids to link it to that option, to be super strategic along the way. Module 3 is really about embedding that research methodology. And as Donna said, being strategic, having that connection all the way through has been her biggest takeaway. So how you're going to get your kids to the end game, strategically ordering the content within the actual core for you to actually uncover the process and go through that process with your kids step by step of the way. So it's not so disconnected. You'll learn when you're learning about primary research, you would then talk about, okay, for our IRP, this is the primary research methodologies we're going to choose. When you do your secondary data, you would do it right there and then. When you talk about sampling, okay, what's our sampling going to look like? What type of sampling are we going to use? What sampling methods are we going to use in our class, and why? Justifying it, linking it to reliability and validity, rather it being completely disjointed. Module 4 is all about having that improved practice for the HSC, improving the kids' writing all the way through. They have a clear strategy. They know how to break down a question. They can unpack those exam skills, answering exam type questions, but also developing a way to actually annotate responses and to really look for the key gems in that particular response. Module 5 is uncovering the power of Google Apps. And if you're not a Google lover, I'm going to share with you some of my tried and tested little tricks inside Google. Many of you guys are Google lovers as well. And if you're not, if you're a Microsoft user, you can also use this as a starting point. So uncovering the power of using Google Drive to help your kids just be super, super organized. And again, if you're not a Google person, you can literally adapt this to Microsoft. Module 6 is all about using those Google apps for efficiency, maximizing their actual processes inside that particular system. So clear directions about how you're going to start to possibly create your questionnaires, where you're going to send them out, how you're going to use Google Docs to document every single step of the way, how your kids are going to collaborate with those Google Docs, using Google Forms, a simple way to collect your primary data, and then using Google Sheets to actually analyze that data at the end. Module 7 is about assessing the IRP, and I originally didn't have this in the first round of the course, but showing you a step-by-step approach on how you're going to assess it, your marking guidelines, your criteria, what you're actually going to get the kids to actually submit, and possibly looking at what marks you're going to allocate to what parts. And then once you get the kids' assignments in, really helping you understand what it might look like to unpack those marks, how you're going to make judgments, how you're going to create some really replicable routines in preparation for your marking. So I'm going to show you some of that stuff, how you might do some marking of those IRPs, unpack the marking guidelines, create those benchmarks of what you're looking for when you start marking. And once you do start marking, then determining those marks within that marking guideline.
Hi there, my name's Julie Dalton. I'd just like to acknowledge what a great course Kelly offers with strategic approaches to the IRP. I was really fortunate many years ago when Kelly first introduced a new idea of a teacher-facilitated group approach, which I implemented, and I just found it so successful. The kids learnt so much, they helped each other, they learnt from each other. The course she offers now just gives so much information, especially not just to new teachers, but to experienced teachers as well, just making sure they're doing all the processes right, understanding requirements, and really viewing the course from a different perspective and making sure that all the syllabus information for the exam is actually integrated when you're doing the project. I would recommend the course to anyone, like I said, new or experienced, to either just reinforce what you're doing is correct, always learning something new, and especially to any new teacher. It is a lot less stressful for kids and teachers doing the group facilitated approach, and they learn so much more and are much more rewarded with the end result. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Jules. And Jules is a fairly experienced CAFS teacher. I have been super lucky to be able to mentor her along her CAFS journey. As you mentioned, I met her many years ago at a CAFS professional learning opportunity. And Julie has been an absolute star of CAFS. She has listened. She has implemented all of my, I call them my methods to my madness, always strategic ways about how I approach things. So really strategic, intentional, purposeful steps to help your CAFS kids. So Julie has mentioned that strategic approach is really, she found a lot of success with her CAFS crew. It's suitable for both new and experienced CAFS teachers to really understand the content all the way through the process, obviously providing a very different perspective about what is still out there in the CAFS world. You still marking 20 IRPs every single Christmas holidays, but also that integrated content and approach. And of course, as I've mentioned it many times before, being less stressful on you and your CAFS crew. So strategic approaches to the IRP literally takes you through all of the templates and scaffolds and resources, PDFs that you guys need for your CAFS crew. Google Docs that are going to be able to be used year after year to help your CAFS students really know what the processes are, plug and play, filled out templates, opportunities for the kids to do some learning in there, scaffolds to help them kind of, they often might struggle with the results section. Okay, this is what we're going to do when we analyze our results. This is what we're looking for. When we start to do that discussion and conclusion, that really big part of the IRP, okay, how are we going to unpack that? So literally everything you need to facilitate this process with your kids, as well as revision questions for your CAFS crew, sample answers, and feedback that you might be able to give to the kids. Okay, so I've mentioned it quite a few times, but what you will achieve in this particular program is going to be career changing. A better focus for you and your CAFS crew to work collaboratively to really enhance that teamwork and those connections across your class. Stronger links to CAFS, really stronger links to CAFS so you can be more strategic, introducing the option early on, linking it back to groups in context. That higher order thinking is going to be able to be embedded within this research methodology section, but also with the IRP itself. So the inclusion of research methodology concepts all the way through, not just tacking on at the beginning, but literally embedding those concepts all the way through. And really that is about those HSC results. And Julie didn't say it, but her CAFS students have had amazing results over the last 6 years as a result of embedding these processes through a teacher facilitated IRP. And also at the end game, improving that product the kids actually hand in that supports your well-being and theirs. Okay, forgot to mention the bonuses. So the bonuses include two things: purposeful assessment in Year 12 CAFS, where I unpack what I see as being the best practice for assessment in our course, assessment processes guided by NESA, practices that we should be starting to adopt in our CAFS class, possibly some scope and sequence work in there that I kind of suggest. Maybe this is the way to go. Introducing research methodology in term 4. It's great for online learning, great for collaboration. We're using technology anyway. So it's great for collaborating with the kids and, kind of linking maybe the next topic in term 1 to your IRP. For me, it was the option. We looked at the case study and we linked it specifically to that case study, but started some of the content in term 4 and then led into groups and then parenting and caring. So all the processes in there, and this particular course is also NESA accredited. Bonus 2 is revision questions for your CAFS crew. So revision and exam questions that are going to help them prepare for the end game. Brand new questions that have never been examined before or never been assessed with scaffolds, annotated sample answers. So it helps the kids be set up for success for the trials and the HSC. So you probably are asking, strategic approach to the IRP is $297 and you're saving $100. It's usually $397. So for one payment today, you can grab that paperwork, join the course by heading to thelearnnet.com/IRP for your school to reimburse you. Or if you want to get that paperwork, if you head over to the link, you'll also get a PDF that you can show your school, and then your head teacher admin or your SAS staff or your principal, your DP can process that payment. So the course is normally $397, but for you guys over the next few days, it is $297. The early bird offer is that save $100. Normally it's $397, but if you guys join in the next few days, you'll save $100 off the program. And you'll also receive me as your private accountability coach in a private Facebook group where a whole bunch of CAFS teachers will be working together, working through the program together. You can go, you can speed ahead or you can come back. But for you guys to be unpacking those areas within that private Facebook group where I'll appear twice a week live, being able to answer your questions. If there's anything that you're kind of finding tricky, we kind of can unpack that together. So giving you guys feedback along the way to help you through the journey. Okay, so if you want to access this course now, head over to thelearnnet.com/IRP and you'll have instant access inside my CAFS education portal, which is basically my website, but you'll have access to this course straight away. So as I mentioned, $297, you're saving $100 there and you'll get all of those resources and so much more to help you facilitate the IRP successfully. So I mentioned at the beginning, these were our challenges: multiple IRP focuses, lack of connection to CAFS, teaching the content separately, being really disjointed, and submitting every single part. Guys, it doesn't have to be that way. You'll have access inside your portal straight away. You'll receive an email to access all the things that you need. Content will be uploaded in your education portal and you'll be able to binge or go as slow or as fast as you want. So you have two choices. You can be like Patrick and Polly and stay stuck and have that really painful approach of spending hours and hours working away one-on-one with your kids, going around in circles, but realizing there's a much better way. You can also create lots of resources to help your kids and, are really great, but don't really teach it application all the way through. And you can spend your time marking in the holidays when other people are on the beach or on holidays reading and enjoying themselves, you still have that feedback there to give to the kids. Or you can have this really strategic approach inside strategic approaches to the IRP. Can be like Sophia and Steve, facilitate the IRP to enhance collaboration and teamwork, link the focus of the content really strategically to connect to CAFS, embed that research methodology, those concepts all the way through to increase the results and those skills, and also just submit only parts to really protect your well-being and time and improve that of your students as well. So I would love for you guys to take on strategic approaches to the IRP. Literally 150 CAFS teachers have already gone through the program and I don't want you to stay stuck. I want you to see success inside the program. So head over to thelearnnet.com/IRP and you'll have instant access to the course. You probably have some questions though. So here are some of my questions that are often brought up. How long does it take? As long as you need, but you'll have everything there for you. It does take hard work, but if you sign up now, you have me as your private accountability coach where I help and guide you along the way. Do you have to upload NESA evidence? Yes, of course you do. It's an online course, but this NESA evidence isn't lengthy and drawn out. It is really strategic. You'll be doing things along the way that will count towards your evidence. So when you create a marking guideline, there's one piece of evidence. When you create a lesson, an activity, there's your piece of evidence. You're not having to reinvent the wheel and reflect every single time on what you've done. So that evidence is there. And this particular course is a NESA accredited course. How long we have access? I want you guys to take action. And if I said to you have lifetime access, or if you have access for 5 years or for 2 years, you probably would let it sit there. So you have access for 12 months, but I want you to get action and take action straight away, and I can help you fast track your success. So let me know if you have any questions. Please, I'll be more than happy to answer those. Type in the chat, let me know, send me an email, send me a message. But again, 8 modules, $100 off right now to sign up for the early bird access, plus the accountability coaching inside the private Facebook group, done for you templates, resources, strategies, marking guidelines, everything that you need to set this up for success. And you probably don't have to do much preparation. You'll literally have every single thing that you need inside the course. And you'll have access to the 2 bonuses, purposeful assessment in CAFS course, as well as the bonus revision and exam prep questions. So head over to learnnet.com/IRP, and I'd feel truly honored to have you guys inside the program. So if you haven't hopped onto my website before, the learnnet.com is where you find it. You can also join me on Facebook at the LearnNet, and then the same on Instagram. Instagram is fabulous at the moment. I'm showing you lots of behind the scenes, lots of Q&As, lots of lives with other experts. I'm also doing lots of things to help your CAFS crew. So head over to @the LearnNet on Instagram, and I'll be able to help you guys that way. I'm also in the private Facebook group for the Learning Network Collaborative, or otherwise known as TLC, where you guys will have access and be able to share lots of resources and start having that discussion with other CAFS teachers like yourself. And if you have any questions about the program itself or anything related to CAFS, please head over to contact@thelearnnet.com and send me an email. I honestly feel so grateful to have your support. Supporting you is honestly a lifelong dream, and I can't wait to help you inside strategic approaches at IRP.